What I tell y'all, they got them Venezuelan people over here taking over apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado. I told y'all, they bringing these people over here, they keeping them fed, they getting them fat, they getting all the food stamps, they getting all the little monies, they getting all that just so they can be over here to combat us. They ain't for us, baby. They are gonna be against us. And I keep telling people that. I was saying to people, oh, you crazy, you tripping. Nope. I done told y'all. I told y'all, them people, they don't care about America. They was paid to come over here and cause chaos. So I guess when they invoke martial law, when the banks start taking people money and all this crazy stuff start going around in the streets and all of that stuff, when they can't control us anymore, that's what them other people from them other countries, that's what they over here to do. They over here to so-called control us. I'm telling y'all, mark my words.
Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sister Akim, pushing this word across the four corners of the world. Just another GMS news update through the spirit, the power, and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And as you heard Eve at the beginning of this video, and stated well through the spirit, are the so-called powers that be, who are of the household of Esau Edom, are orchestrating this quote-unquote migrant crisis in order to invoke the American public to get them in a disarray and start causing more protests, riots, civil uprisings. So therefore the so-called powers that be can utilize this migrant army to be used against the American public, hence martial law. And this is all a Freemasonry tactic called order ab chaos, which is the Latin phrase for order out of chaos. The so-called powers that be, they create the problem, they create the reaction, and they create the solution, which is forging this NWO, or this Great Reset. And this is all the plans of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, working through his vessel of dishonor, which are the elites of Esau Edom. And you study Esau's patterns through the spirit over the years, you can see how this is easily being engineered by the so-called powers that be to create this order out of chaos situation within America, which is Babylon the Great. And right here, this is an article from naturalnews.com, and the title says, globalists using migrants as mercenary armies against Western populations. This article was published on August 19th, 2024. And before I get into this article, I came across another one through the spirit, also from naturalnews.com. And the title says, the migrant gang takeover of apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado is just a small taste of the chaos to be unleashed against Americans. And this article right here was published on September the 1st, 2024. So these so-called globalists, they want to create this disordered state within the so-called United States of America, which will be the perfect solution in the eyes of them to forge in this Great Reset. Because the way they look at it, this world is divided, and the only solution for this division is to bring forth this NWO. And that's why George H.W. Bush stated within the early 90s, we have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a NWO, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle. So the current condition of this world, they view it as the law of the jungle. Like it's uncivilized. And the only way to take care of this uncivilized nature of society is to bring forth this Great Reset or this NWO. So he said, not the law of the jungle governs the conduct of nations. And when we are successful, and we will be, we will have a real chance at this NWO. And they also believe never let a good crisis go to waste. And you see what's going on with this so-called migrant crisis that's beginning to take over certain portions of the United States. And that takes me right to Isaiah 24 verse 10. The city of confusion is broken down. And the city of confusion is referencing to America, aka Babylon the Great. That's where you get the Hebrew word from Babylon, which is Babal, which means disorder, chaos, and also confusion. So what we are witnessing right now, the so-called powers that be are utilizing this migrant army to be used against the American public to impose martial law measures in the wake of a national disaster. And that's creating a lot of tension with these everyday Americans, and more so especially these patriotic Americans, the ones who are really standing firm on their Second Amendment of bearing arms. So the city of confusion is broken down, and as you can see in today's time, this place America is being more divided day by day. When you have the red states against the blue states, or the Republicans against the Democrats, the conservatives against the liberalists, just all types of division or separation within the so-called United States of America. So the prophecy right here states the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And these powerful, self-centered Americans are really about to get taken off guard of what's about to get ready to transpire within the so-called United States of America. Which takes me right back to the article, The Migrant Gang Takeover of Apartment Buildings in Aurora, Colorado is just a small taste of the chaos to be unleashed against Americans. And it says, most Americans have no idea what's coming when the invasion forces that have already penetrated and occupied America are given a purge activation order to exterminate and replace American citizens. The gang takeover of the apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado is just a tiny taste of things to come. Note carefully that nobody in Colorado law enforcement is lifting a finger to stop the gang invasion takeover. And we just read briefly from the first article titled, how these foreign migrant armies are doing the bidding of the globalists. They are all bought and paid for. So of course, these different law enforcement agencies, they're going to have to stand down when they get challenged against the so-called powers that be. It says they have given the gangs total legal immunity, just like, as you can see right there. All right, and it says, you will be on your own. Calling 911 will only earn you laughter and mockery. Your Colorado governor is a treasonous fool, and your Colorado big city police chiefs hate the Bill of Rights, but will do everything to protect the newcomers who are replacing Americans. Understand that the Democrats are in on it. And that's what gets me with these stupefied Americans. Like whenever some type of event or tragedy or crisis happens, they always blame one of the political parties. Like whether it be the so-called Democrats or the Republicans or the conservatives or the liberals, but inwardly not knowing that these so-called political parties are doing the bidding of the global elites. They are all bought and paid for. You would think within 2024, a lot of people will come to the awakening of that. But that's why it's stated within Isaiah the 60th chapter about gross darkness to people. All right, and it says, they have engineered circumstances that they hope will lead to the actual mass extermination, then the replacement of American citizens. Aurora is just a pilot model to see how far they can push it. And I look more into that word Aurora, like why did they pick this particular city out of Colorado and really out of all the other cities within the United States of these different migrants so-called taking over these apartment buildings. So when you look more into the word Aurora, it's a goddess in Roman mythology, and she's considered to be the goddess of dawn, which is spelled D-A-W-N. Dawn can go into like sunrise, break of day, or daybreak, but it can also go into beginning, opening, breaking, or emerging. Like are the so-called powers that be trying to tell us without telling us that this engineered invasion of apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado can be the beginning of all hell breaking loose within this American society? Hence, civil war, social unrest, or civil uprisings? Because again, the so-called powers that be out of the troubled times, then a new world order can emerge. So it can really be any day now for all hell to break loose within this American society. So right here it says, if you have never been in an active battle zone or have never trained with live rifle fire in realistic scenarios, not just shooting paper targets at a shooting range, you truly have no idea what's likely to be unleashed by America's enemies in the coming months as the invaders and terrorists deploy full auto AKs, RPGs, and mortars against America's infrastructure. Sadly, most people get their battle knowledge from watching TV shows written by firearms illiterate leftists who think that car doors and wooden tables block rifle rounds. Most people have no idea of the difference between cover versus concealment. They think having a couple hundred rounds is plenty for self-defense of a rural property. They don't own nearly enough magazines, no, not clips, or ballistic armor. They have never carried a rifle on their backs with a sling while trying to do garden work at the same time. They don't have a working night vision rifle setup, which means they are sitting ducks at night. They either don't own an AR-15 or the one they own hasn't been lubed or fired in 5 years and is in questionable operating condition, probably with dead red dot batteries. Typical Americans are clueless and ill-prepared for what's coming. Typical Americans are obsessed with watching celebrity videos, eating processed foods, and jabbing themselves with, as you can see, that are FDA approved as weight loss drugs. They have zero ability to defend themselves against determined, lean, well-trained invaders with zealot-level hatred of America and its people, which backs up 2 Ezra 16 verse 71, how they should be like mad men sparing none. Because these foreign troops, they're not going to have the same type of compassion or sympathy for these American citizens compared to like the National Guard. In a video I did some time ago, it was a retired general, and he stated how these different foreign troops that's over here laying dormant, they are studying the everyday patterns of you everyday Americans. Like things you post on social media, they're just waiting for the so-called powers that be to give them that green light. So right here it says, just one of these foreign militants will probably kill 100 Americans or more, on average, as typical Americans in cities are pathetically defenseless, clueless, and have spent years mocking preppers and firearms experts. With up to a 100 to 1 kill ratio and estimated 1 million military-age foreign invaders already stationed inside the USA. It's not outside the bounds of plausibility to understand that tens of millions of Americans may soon be slaughtered in a combined Marxist terrorist purge of American citizens. Which takes me to the prophecy within Jeremiah 49 verse 31. Arise, get you up unto the wealthy nation, which is referring to America, aka Babylon the Great, that dwelleth without care, said the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. So yeah, these prideful, self-centered, complacent Americans are too saturated in bread circus, social media, their everyday lives, just all types of folly, and not really paying attention to what's going on in these so-called third world countries will definitely come to the doorsteps of you everyday Americans. And like this article just stated, how these Americans are clueless and they are definitely ill-prepared of all the impending danger, chaos, and mayhem that will come to America very soon. So arise, get you up into the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, said the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. So going back to this article, what it stated earlier, how most Americans have no idea what's coming when the invasion forces that have already penetrated and occupied America and are given the purge activation order to exterminate and replace American citizens. So what are these complacent, Taco Bell eating out of shape Americans are going to do against these foreign invaders? You know, especially down here in the South, you have a lot of these morbidly obese people who stay in the buffets. So how can they be able to fight against this type of resistance that's coming to America very soon? And it's really here. Because again, these different foreign troops are just laying dormant right now until they get that green light to come down upon you proudful Americans. So therefore, America definitely fits this prophecy right here that dwelleth without care. Like they have no type of care in the world when these type of problems occur in these other so-called third world countries and not thinking logically that these same type of problems can happen within your homeland. And the type of lawlessness that's coming to America is going to be way much worse what we see within these so-called third world countries, because the Lord is saving the best for last. America, again, Babylon the Great. Jeremiah 49:32, and their camels should be a booty, and the multitude of their cattle a spoil, and I will scatter into all winds them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides thereof, said the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. And how so? The Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, working through his vessel of dishonor, which are the elites of Esau Edom, via these foreign troops, which is like an extension of Esau's blessing, which is a sword. And that's why it's stated within 2nd Ezra 15:49, how the Lord is going to send plagues upon thee, widowhood, because it's going to be a lot of these soldiers dying out from these upcoming wars. Poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence to waste these people's houses with destruction and death. And that's really going to be the theme of America. It's going to be all hell broken loose within this American society. And the way this place is spiraling down, it can really happen any day now. So that's why the Lord stated again, and I will bring their calamity from all sides thereof, said the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. And the Lord is bringing this type of dramatic vibration upon the most least expecting people within the history of mankind, which are these proudful Americans. So back to the article, it says, there are consequences for allowing your country to be invaded while you defund police, ban the Second Amendment, and turn your young men into weakling tampon timbers, while woke, weak, and wimpy Americans run around pretending that men can have babies. The invaders will be ventilating them with AK rounds and seizing their homes and neighborhoods at will. Again, 2nd Ezra 16 verse 71. They should be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So the police would do nothing to stop them because most of the city cops are too obese to fight. And they haven't fired their service pistol since the last qualification requirement 6 months ago. So right here it says, everybody needs to read Matt Bracken and Michael Young and then realize they haven't told you even half of what they know is coming, because they don't want to sound too scary and get banned. But trust me when I tell you that I know both of these courageous men, and they haven't even yet described the real horrors of what they know is coming. Prepare while you can. If you remain in the cities when this chaos is deliberately unleashed, you will almost certainly die. And that's why it's stated within 2nd Ezra 15 verse 18, because of their pride, the cities should be troubled, and how the houses should be destroyed, and men should be afraid. So these major cities in that day of time would be like red flags to be at. But whenever Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua has his hopeful elect scattered amongst these different major cities, Abaradazak, they will be taken care of. And I definitely believe the Lord is going to provide a way through this pilgrimage. So it says, prepare while you can. And that's what we're doing right now, spiritually, mentally preparing ourselves. And of course, staying in shape, eating right will definitely be an extra advantage within these dark, evil times. If you remain in the cities when this chaos is deliberately unleashed, you will almost certainly die. As Young says, it's time for big boy rules. Bad choices have bad consequences, and nobody's coming to save you. Most certainly not your government, which has conspired to engineer this exact scenario that they hope will result in your extermination and replacement. The Democrats' war on the American people, like I stated earlier, all these different political parties doing the will of these higher ups. So the Democrats' war on the American people is probably only months away from going hot due to invaders and terrorists who were deliberately let into the country by the Democrats themselves, almost all functioning as straight up traitors to America. Prepare for an imminent invasion and activation of those invaders within our borders. When the grid goes down, you won't be able to access the internet and read this post anymore. You'll have to fight to survive, mostly with no comms or reliable power grid. Good luck to all. And let's get right quick what our big brother Yahweh Shah stated for the Heavenly Father. Yahweh sent him the green light via his second coming, it's going to be all types of chaos, anarchy, lawlessness that will be active before Yahushua's second return. And this is Luke 12:49. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So before Yahushua along with the angels bring forth their fire, it's going to be already hell upon earth, which means that it's going to be an extremely unpleasant place or situation to be in, especially here within America. So I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So when Yahushua returns, him and along with the angels are going to ignite it even more. And everything I just read from this article within this lesson is about to soon take place within the so-called United States of America, where in actuality it should be called the Divided States of America, because all you see every day within this American society, disunity, discord, dissension, which is a heavy spiritual telltale sign that Yahushua prophesied when a so-called kingdom or empire is about to get ready to collapse or break down. And as Yahushua stated, this is Mark 3:23 within the NLT. Yahushua called them over and responded with an illustration. How can Satan cast out Satan? He asks. And that takes me right to Mark 3:23 within the NLT. And this is Yahushua speaking. Yahushua called them over and responded with an illustration. How can Satan cast out Satan? He asks. Verse 24. A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. So fast forward that to this current time frame. Look at the buildup from this so-called inflation that's causing more and more Americans' backs to be pushed against the walls. And that's creating more tension upon the everyday American to provide for their families and to live a so-called comfortable or affordable life. So right there alone, that's creating more tension buildup within this American society. And more Americans are losing their jobs. Then to top that off, you have this U.S. government engineering a warm welcome to these so-called foreign invaders, and where they are receiving much better government benefits compared to your everyday or average American that receive government benefits. And that's causing more and more Americans to be more on the edge. And that's heavy that Elder Apostle Tahar did a video recently called 2 Ezra 15 and 2 Ezra 16 are coming to pass. Because according to 2 Ezra 15:12, it stated Egypt shall mourn. Like all of this pressure, tension, anxiety is upon these everyday Americans' backs. And that's creating more of these Americans to be on the edge. And where they're reaching their breaking point. And what you think is going to happen after that? As Yahushua stated through the Spirit, a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. That's the so-called powers that be sowing more discord upon these everyday Americans. And really, they are targeting the middle class. And I definitely believe through the Spirit, this next pandemic shutdown will totally wipe out the so-called middle class of America. So going back to the point right here within Mark 3:24, a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. And we are witnessing that build up to a major civil war within the so-called United States. Remember, the city of confusion is broken down. And also linking up with Isaiah the 19th chapter and the 2nd verse, how the Egyptians against the Egyptians, which are the modern day Americans against the modern day Americans. Verse 25, similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. And if Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He will never survive. And that's exactly what we are witnessing, hence current events. So right here within this article, globalists using migrants as mercenary armies against Western populations. And this is the type of order or tone to be set by the global elites when they look at this current society as the law of the jungle, and where they are setting up this crisis to forge into a world where the rule of law will be the standard, which is their NWO. And as you can see from the title of this article, the migrant gang takeover of apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado is just a small taste of the chaos to be unleashed against Americans. Like the pace of this American society is spiraling down on a daily operation, all hell really can break loose any day now. And where it's soon about to be a severe hell on earth. Hence the times of Jacob's trouble. So that concludes the lesson through the Spirit. And hopefully with that, you all was edified. You all stay strong. Keep pushing forward. Shalom.
So as you heard her say, I told you, they letting them come over here and they are taking over apartment buildings and things like that. And what she said in regards to them coming over here, obviously getting money and stuff, but they're being brought over here to control us. I thought about that for a minute and I said, you know what? She's right. Because see, I'm from California. And I remember a time where it wasn't heavily Hispanic, if you will. It was a good mix of people. There was a lot of black people still in California. But as time went on, it got to a point to where Hispanics were in control per se, right? Think about the police department. It's, heavily Hispanic. And we've seen a copious amount of videos of Hispanic officers brutalizing black people. And now that I think about it, I can't think of any videos that I've seen of black officers doing it to Hispanic people. But it's always the other way around. And so when she said they're being brought over here to control us, I think she's on to something. Because any and everywhere you go, depending on where you live, you're going to see them in control. Whether they're the principals or the admin or the this or the that, they're in control. They're landlords, sheriffs, and not necessarily anything wrong with that. But a lot of times when they are in those positions, they are very hostile to black people. They just are. It's not me making this up. That's just the way it is. I have spoken to countless people who have that story. So we know how and why people from Venezuela are over here. That is due to the Biden administration. It was just discovered that they were bringing over 30,000 migrants, including from Venezuela, the Biden administration, on airplanes, just bringing them over. A month, 30,000 a month, not total, but a month. But it was Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida that found out about it. I was like, nah, there's some fraud going on with that. At first, the Biden administration was like, nah, it ain't. But they had to put it on hold so they can investigate and see how more than 30,000 people are coming over here. So what are they coming over here for other than getting all theirs to get? Are they actually being brought over here to control black people? Now, that's something to think about.